without so much as a warning, life hangs in the balance. Human endeavor turns to chaos. And within seconds, nothing will ever be the same.
I got her!
Ever.
Think you can handle 30 minutes of some of the most intense destruction ever captured on tape? An extreme skier finds herself swept up by the fury of a massive avalanche. A pair of high-rise window washers cling for their lives during a violent windstorm. Hold on for the ride of your life because things are about to be destroyed in seconds.
Skiers push their limits to the extreme by taking on some of the roughest, steepest terrain on the planet. Considered the most dangerous type of skiing, the hazards include exposed boulders, trees, and cliffs. But there's also an invisible danger: the avalanche. An average of 100 fatalities a year and hundreds of injuries worldwide are caused by these unstoppable forces of nature. British Columbia, Canada. Professional skier Andrea Benning, her boyfriend Stian, and two friends go searching for the perfect slope to film an extreme ski video. They find an ideal spot near Mount Waddington, British Columbia's highest peak. Stian drops in first. He easily traverses the mountain, but towards the bottom of the more than 50-degree slope, he triggers a mini avalanche and narrowly avoids getting swept up. The two friends descend down the mountain and trigger more small avalanches. Stian radios up to warn Andrea of the instability. But knowing it's her last chance to get the shots she wants, Andrea chooses her path and goes for it. Andrea drops in, makes one turn, and the snowpack suddenly fractures into massive sliding jigsaw pieces. She fights to ski a straight line to her right, in hopes of making it over the spine of the mountain before she's consumed by the avalanche.
I got her, she's on top.
Andrea cartwheels out of control for over 1,000 feet down the mountain. When she finally stops, she's buried from the waist down. The avalanche is caused by an extra 59 inches of snow that fell over the past 5 days, creating an unstable layer that needs only a hairpin trigger to release it. Despite her 1,000-foot tumble, Andrea's only injury is to her knee. It takes her an entire year to fully recover and hit the slopes again. An out-of-control fire rages at a chemical storage facility in Moine, Costa Rica. A spark from a welder's torch ignites volatile chemicals as they're being transferred to a tanker truck. This triggers the massive blaze. Authorities cordon off the area and evacuate 300 residents from their homes. Firefighters can do little more than pour water on the fire and wait for the chemicals to burn out. The inferno heats up storage tanks holding 118 tons of toluene and 40 tons of xylene, forms of liquid hydrocarbon that are both highly toxic and flammable. The intense heat causes pressure inside the tanks to build until they fail. Flames shoot 400 feet into the air as the chemical tanks ignite, sending gigantic plumes of toxic smoke billowing over the countryside. By nightfall, firefighters applying both water and foam begin to get control of the blaze. It takes 10 hours to completely douse the flames. The facility is reduced to a blackened shell inside and out. Five of the 20 chemical storage tanks exploded. 3 workers are killed. 20 others are rushed to the hospital with burns and toxic smoke inhalation. An investigation concludes that human error is to blame for this accident. Workers should not have attempted to transfer the chemicals with welders working nearby. He's known as the world's foremost motorcycle daredevil, the son of the legendary Evel Knievel. Out of more than 250 professional jumps, Robbie Knievel has set 20 world records. Here at Hawaii's Aloha Stadium, Robbie is planning to jump a distance of 150 feet. As always, Robbie has carefully plotted his approach speed and ramp trajectory. But today, something in his calculations is off. June 1989, Honolulu, Hawaii's Aloha Stadium. In front of thousands of fans, including his father, motorcycle stunt rider Robbie Knievel will attempt a jump of 150 feet. It's a distance he's completed before. But what makes today's stunt unique is that Robbie has only 200 feet of lead into the launch ramp. That's only 1/3 of the distance Robbie normally uses. Still, Robbie feels confident he'll be able to make it. Robbie must start his run deep within the tunnel. To make the jump, he has to hit at least 80 miles per hour. Robbie twists the throttle hard and bolts up the 9-foot ramp. But he reaches only 70 miles per hour, 10 short of his goal. Robbie's rear tire doesn't clear the landing ramp. He flies over the handlebars, his bike cartwheeling behind him. Help rushes in. Robbie is conscious, but can barely sit up. His bike is destroyed, but Robbie suffers no serious injury. Robbie gets another bike, makes some adjustments to the gears, and tries it again the very next day. He nails it. More than making up for the unfortunate outcome of his first attempt. Stronger than expected wind gusts cause havoc in Sao Paulo, Brazil. Employees of an office building are stunned to find 2 window washers stuck on the 7th floor of a high-rise across the street. Inside the scaffold are window washers Luciano Santos and Wando Barros. In a plea for help, Luciano waves his hand in front of a window. Before anyone can react, a 50-mile-per-hour gust rams the men into the side of the building. Shards of glass rain onto the street. The scaffold swings 40 feet away from the building as both men brace for another violent collision. They crash back into the building in a spray of soapy water. The force of the second impact almost knocks one of the men out of the scaffold. Another sharp gust sends him into the same treacherous corner. Luciano reaches out in a desperate attempt to stabilize the platform, but his efforts are futile. For more than 3 minutes, the two men are at the mercy of the wind. Finally, a woman inside the building flings her jacket out of a window for the men to grab. Workers unscrew the window and pull the window washers to safety. Only suffering minor cuts and bruises, both men are happy to thank their hero. Luciano still washes high-rise windows, but now he checks the weather report every morning. Haines, Alaska. A group of snowmobilers decide to have some fun by leaping over a mountain highway. They build a snow ramp leading to the 62-foot jump. Success requires the rider to reach a speed fast enough to clear the guardrail.
You see that fat jump?
Yeah. Can't wait to hit it, man.
Rob Hinlin is here with his snowmobile, which is not equipped with a speedometer. The 22-year-old will have to guess his speed when he hits the ramp. But he guesses wrong.
Trouble.
Snowmobilers show off their jumping skills across a highway in Haines, Alaska. The trick is to hit the 40-degree ramp at just the right speed to safely make it across the 2-lane road. Some are able to clear the distance like pros.
That was awesome.
Others are more challenged. Semi-pro rider Rob Henlin decides to attempt the jump. He thinks he can manually gauge his speed and go fast enough to clear the 62-foot gap. Gauging that he's going too slow, bystanders scream for Rob to stop. Nearing impact at around 40 miles per hour, Rob jumps off. But his leg is bit backwards against his head.
Trouble.
His snowmobile flips down the embankment. Rob barely moves on the icy pavement. Fellow snowmobilers come to his aid, but they're afraid to move him.
Left leg.
Rob is severely injured, and an ambulance is many miles away. Fortunately, there's a medical professional in the crowd.
She's a nurse.
1, 2, 3.
Finally, Rob is loaded into a pickup truck, then taken to the hospital to the cheers of bystanders.
This is what happens to you after a 60-foot gap jump and you come up short.
Rob undergoes 4 surgeries to repair his shattered knees and ankles, and has to stay off his feet for 6 months. Rob blames his own bad judgment for the accident, which destroys his $10,000 machine. When he buys a new one, he makes sure it comes equipped with a speedometer. Avenue of the Americas, New York City. At 10 a.m., fire crews respond to a blaze at a 114-year-old building in the historic Garment District. An electrical box in the basement of a shoe store has erupted in flames. Shoeboxes stacked from floor to ceiling quickly ignite. 250 firefighters and 70 fire trucks are dispatched to battle the blaze. Due to dangerous maze-like conditions in the basement, firefighters take up position on the exterior. For 11 hours, they douse the burning building from all angles. By 9 p.m., firefighters are preparing to mop up, unaware that the building's support structures have been compromised. Firefighters scramble as 5 stories of brick, metal, and concrete crash to the street. A careful inspection of the video reveals a clue about the collapse. As a firefighter aims a hose at a 4th-story window, the pressure dislodges a chunk of mortar from the facade. Seconds later, that same area is the first to crumble, triggering a domino effect that brings down the entire structure. Later that night, 2 adjacent buildings also collapse, leaving a total of 16 families homeless. No firefighters are injured in the collapse, but 12 are treated for minor bumps and bruises incurred while fighting the fire. 3 hours before its collapse, the building was inspected and declared structurally stable. It's a packed raceway in Norwalk, Ohio for the 1990 Hot Rod World Nationals. Reaching speeds of 217 miles per hour in just 6.6 seconds, these dragsters are fast and dangerous. Veteran racer Eddie Harris pulls up to the line, unaware that a critical component of his high-performance dragster is about to fail.
And something going badly wrong with Eddie Harris.
Fans gather in Norwalk, Ohio for the 1990 Hot Rod World Nationals, where dragsters reach speeds of over 200 miles per hour in under 7 seconds. Next on the line is veteran racer Eddie Harris. He's attempting a qualifying run.
And something going badly wrong with Eddie Harris.
Eddie floors the gas pedal, but the high pressure of the 2,000 horsepower engine causes the cooling system to explode, spraying water underneath the car. Eddie loses control on the slick surface. He crashes into the guardrail at 130 miles per hour. As the car flips 6.5 times, the methanol tank ejects into the air, spraying alcohol. The dragster finally comes to a halt, upside down. Fearing the flammable alcohol will ignite a fire, rescue crews rush to Eddie and quickly try to free him. Eddie survives the crash without a scratch, but his $100,000 dragster isn't so lucky. It's completely destroyed. This race ends up being Eddie's last run down the drag strip. After this crash, he retires from racing. A music store in Springfield, Missouri. An employee works quietly behind the counter, while customers wander the aisles and check out instruments. Then, from out of nowhere, as the dust settles, another surprise. The car, has no driver. While the worker at the front of the store sits at his computer, an unfortunate chain of events unfolds outside. An elderly woman has a diabetic seizure while driving and rams into a parked car. This catapults the empty vehicle 8 feet forward and into the store. The wall and counter collapse, but stop inches before crushing the employee. Another employee, carrying 2 guitars, barely escapes being slammed by debris. The parked car absorbs most of the impact. Had it not been there, the first car would have crashed into the store at 70 miles per hour. Costs to repair the damage come in at around $100,000. The employees, customers, and the elderly woman who caused the crash all emerged from this accident uninjured.
I'm Ron Pitts. Thanks for watching Destroyed in Seconds.